Before we begin today's programs, let's invoke the auspiciousness with the prayers. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare. Today is the divine appearance day of Srimati Radharani, the eternal consort of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 15 days after Krishna's birth, Radharani appears. Radharani is Krishna's pleasure potency. Let us offer our prayers to Srimati Radharani. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. It means, I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna are one in their identity. Krishna is energetic, and Radharani is the energy. Wherever there is Krishna, there is Radha, and wherever there is Radha, there is Krishna. They are inseparable. Radharani is Krishna's spiritual energy, Swarup Shakti personified. She's a transformation of eternal potency of the love that Krishna carries within himself. Radharani is Hari Priya, very dear to Krishna. So if you approach Krishna through Radharani, through the mercy of Radharani, then it becomes very easy. If Radharani recommends a devotee to be very nice, then Krishna immediately accepts. That is how merciful Radharani is. Today we all have gathered here to celebrate Radhastami. On this most auspicious day, we pray at the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika to please bestow upon us her causeless mercy and grant us a service at her lotus feet. With that, we begin our programs today. So first we're going to have Bhajans and Kirtan, followed by Arati, and then His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaj will be coming to our temple, and Maharaj will be giving a class, so that's at 6:30. Followed by 7:30, we're going to have kids and grown-ups kid, and then the prasadam. With that, first we start the program today. First we have Radha Damodar Prabhu, who will be singing the Mahamantra Kirtan. Hare Krishna Prabhu, over to you.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare He Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Bye.
Hare Krishna Radha Damodar Prabhu. That was a beautiful start for our celebration today. Very melodious. Thank you, Prabhu. Next, we have Mukul Prabhu, who will be doing the Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Mukul Prabhu.
Namo Shri Vishnupadaya Krishnapristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine
भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने।
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी यत्यादिशतारिणे।
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे।
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Mukul Prabhu. That was a very beautiful and melodious Kirtan. Thank you very much for that. And thank you, Krish, for supporting. Next, we have Samanvita. Samanvita will be singing Bhajan. Hare Krishna Samanvita.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Gokula Taruni Mandhala Maite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Damodara Arati Vardhana Veshe. Hari Nishkuta Vrindavipineshe. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Vrinda Vrishabhanu Dadi Vardhana Veshe. Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Vishakhe. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Karunam Kuru Mai Karuna Bharite. Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Now I'll sing Vrindavan Ramya Sthana. Vrindavana Ramya Sthana Divya Chintamani Dama Ratana Mandira Mano Hara. Avrita Kalini Mein Raja Hamsa Keli Kare. Tahe Shobhe Kanaka Mala. Tara Madhye Hema Pita Ashtadale Veshtita. Ashtadale Pradhanana Ika. Tara Madhye Ratna Sane Bashiyache Doi Jane. Shyama Sange Sundari Radhika. Orupala Vanyarashi Amiya Pariche Kashi. Hasya Pari Hasya Samba Sane. Narotama Tasa Koi Nitya Leela Sukamoy. Sada Hi Spuru Kamora Mane. Vrindavana Ramya Sthana Divya Chintamani Dama Ratana Mandira Mano Hara. Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Samanvita, that was such a melodious and beautiful bhajan you sang. Thank you very much, and beautiful Kirtan as well. Next we have Kimberly. Kimberly will be singing bhajan and Kirtan. Hare Krishna Kimberly, over to you. Oh yeah, please.
You need?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have until what time? 5:45. So just go like this, 5:55. Yeah. I don't go over time. Okay. Thank you. Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Everyone Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Everyone Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radhamadava Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Everyone. Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Radhamadava Jaya Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Radhesham Jaya Radhesham Jaya Radhesham Jaya Radhesham Radhesham Jaya Radhesham Jaya Radhesham Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhesham Jaya Radhesham Radhesham Jaya Radhesham Radhesham Jaya Radhesham Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite 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 Gokula Dhanuni Mandalamaite Gokula Dhanuni Mandalamaite Gokula Dhanuni Mandalamaite Dhanuni Mandalamaite O Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite. Damodar Arati Vrndavana Vese Hari Niskuta Vrndavana Pine Sehi Damodar Arati Vrndavana Vese Hari Niskuta Vrndavana Sehi Damodar Arati Vrndavana Vese Hari Niskuta Vrndavan Pine Sehi Damodar Arati Antatya Vesehi Hari Niskuta Vrndavan Pine Sehi. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite. Vishwanadadi Namasachi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Vishwanadadi Namasachi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Vishwanadadi Namasachi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Radhe Namasachi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite. Karuna Karumai Karuna Varite Sanaka Sanatana Varita Charite. Karuna Karumai Karuna Varite Sanaka Sanatana Varita Charite. Karuna Karumai Karuna Varite Sanaka Sanatana Varita Charite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite. 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 Jaya Radhe 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 Sham Jaya Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Jaya Radhe Sham. Jai Nita Go Brahmanande Hare Bo. Jai Shri Radhe.
Hare Krishna, Kimberly. That was absolutely very, very melodious and beautiful bhajan and kirtan. Thank you so much. Next, we have Jishnu. Jishnu will be doing kirtan. Is Jishnu here? Jishnu, you have time till 6. 6 o'clock is our Arati. So, over to you, Jishnu.
Move 2.5 inches forward. Otherwise, some of them come this side.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hari Bol. That was Hare Krishna, Vishnu. That was very, very nice. Kirtan, very good. Thank you, Kimberly, for supporting by playing Mridangam. With that, devotees, we are going to start the Gaura Arati now. Pujari service will be done by Pushpanjali Mataji and Abhay Prabhu will be singing the Kirtan. Request devotees to please rise up and come forward.
नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमो
कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषः शून्यवादी पश्चातादिशतारिणे
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चातादिशतारिणे
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा
जय कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा
जय कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Radhe.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Radhe, Jaya Radha Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe.
जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय राधे निताई गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताई गौर हरि बोल निताई गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल
वीरभद्र
जो विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री रूपाल की जो विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वसत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। श्री मथुरा धाम की जय। श्री श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। श्री जगन्नाथपुरी श्री क्षेत्रपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। बृहद मृदंग ट्रांसेंडल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। कलियुग धर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादलादतायिने नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादलादतायिने हिरण्यकशिपूर्वक्षः शीलाटङ्कानखालाय हिरण्यकशिपूर्वक्षः शीलाटङ्कानखालाय तो नशिमो परतो नशिमो यतो यतो यामि ततो नशिमो इतो इतो नशिमो परतो नशिमो यतो यतो यामि ततो नशिमो इतो बहे नशिमो हृदये नशिमो नरसिंहमदिं शरणं पदे बहे नशिमो हृदये नशिमो ओ बहे नशिमो हृदये नशिमो नरसिंहमदिं शरणं पदे तव कर कमल वरे नखामभृत श्रृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे नृसिंहदे केशवधृता केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरहरि जय नरहरि जय नरहरि जय नरहरि जय जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय भक्ति विघ्न विनाशक नरसिंहदेव भगवान की
Thank you, Abhay Prabhu, for the beautiful Kirtan. Thank you, Jishnu, for supporting. Thank you, Krishna, for Kartal. And thank you, Pushpanjali Mataji, for the Pujari service. Devotees, okay, Maharaj is here. I was going to say Maharaj is going to... Please turn forwards, devotees. Maharaj is here. And Samanvita, take a step back, Maharaj. It's our really very great fortune today to have His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaj on this very auspicious occasion of Radhastami at Hare Krishna Temple of Austin. Maharaj, on behalf of Hare Krishna Temple of Austin, we would like to welcome you and thank you for giving us your holy association. We are very truly blessed, Maharaj. With your permission, can I give a brief introduction, Maharaj?
Brief.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Maharaj. His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaj is a distinguished scholar and devout follower of Vedic system of life in theology, science, ethics, and culture. His professional responsibilities include facilitating systematic education and training in these techniques for people in North America and Asia. Maharaj's singular attention to developing good qualities and then sacrificing all his time and efforts for the people have made him a revered teacher in university campuses and metropolitan communities. Despite a demanding travel schedule, Maharaj carries for each individual that crosses his path, even by visiting people in their homes, simply for their benefit. Yes, I'm almost done.
Thank you very much. Jaya Radha
Just one more, last one.
Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Bhala Bhagiri Dhari 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 Jasodanandana Vrajachanarandana Jasodanandana Vrajachanarandana Yamanatira Vanapyadi Yamanatira Vanapyadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Bhala Bhagiri Dhari Gopi Jana Bhala Bhagiri Dhari Jasodanandana Vrajachanarandana Jasodanandana Vrajachanarandana Yamanatira Vanapyadi Yamanatira Vanapyadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivesakacharya Astatarasatasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaur Premanandi. Radhastami finally arrived. This is my third time around celebrating Radhastami this year. No? Just leave it out. Fiddle. Thanks. I'm a little fussy, you know. Long announcements, introductions. Radhastami. Who here would like to say something about Srimati Radharani? Let's say 3 people. Just something about Srimati Radharani. Something that inspires you about Srimati Radharani. How about you? Something. Anything. Here's a microphone. This is what happens when you sit in the front row. I'll call you.
Okay. If you want to reach Krishna, you have to ask the permission of Radharani.
If you want to do what, you have to ask permission?
Of Radharani.
What do you have to ask her permission for?
To go to Krishna.
To take a vacation?
No. To reach Goloka Vrindavan.
To go to Vrindavan, you have to ask for Radharani's permission.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Who taught you that one?
My dad.
Your friend?
My dad.
Your dad? Wow. I'd like to meet your dad. Is your dad here?
Yeah.
That's nice. First thing, that's the first thing. Very good. Do you want to go to Vrindavan?
Yeah.
Someday?
Yeah.
Have you been?
No.
When are you going to go? When Radharani said it's okay to go?
Yeah.
You don't know yet.
Yeah.
You're looking forward to that day when Radharani says yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, anybody else? Just anything that you're inspired to say something about Srimati Radharani?
Devotees, kindly move forward so that whoever joining late, they can sit behind. Or towards your right, you can move if you want. Yeah.
You think this is at the right angle? Oh, people over here have to see also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like this.
Okay.
We have enough place. Please adjust yourself, devotees.
Let's hear something about Radharani besides logistics. Somebody would like to say something. Very good.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. She is the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna.
Pleasure potency of Radha Krishna, of Krishna. No, 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 no. No tantrums. Pleasure potency of Krishna. That's all she wants to say. She wants to say a lot of things. One more. Something about Srimati Radharani. I've learned to call on people if there's no volunteers. Yes.
She's so merciful.
Very merciful. She's very merciful. Tomorrow, one full class is going to be dedicated to that topic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The merciful nature of Srimati Radharani. She's very merciful. Do you have a favorite mercy story about Radharani?
You read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to think to share. So I actually do. I was in Vrindavan, and I was feeling very lost at the time, and I would see a lot of especially male-bodied devotees getting a lot of close association with their male gurus and shiksha gurus, and I was really wanting more like association, like more direction, more guidance. And so I went in Vrindavan, I went in front of the deities in Krishna Balaram Mandir, and I prayed to Radharani. I was like crying, everything. I prayed to Radharani. I was like, to please send me a woman Shiksha guru, like someone that could help guide me. And the next day, Radharani arranged, and she's been helping me ever since.
Fantastic. That's a fantastic story. I've got some other fantastic stories tomorrow. You have to wait till tomorrow, though.
But when I would pray to Krishna, I wouldn't get responses that quickly. So
Krishna's a little grumpy.
Krishna kind of makes you like, you know,
You go to
swirl in the mud.
Radharani and she'll help you out.
Yeah. So it's true, at least in my experience.
Well, you know, let's just be really clear that Radharani doesn't do anything without Krishna's giving the go-ahead, right? Her mercy is his mercy, right? That's good. But she's really merciful. One of my favorite expressions, Krishna is very kind. She's the kindness, the internal pleasure potency, and kindness potency. Is Krishna. She's Krishna's kindness. Don't forget. Don't forget.
Thank you.
Okay. Srimati Radharani Part 1. On this next slide, you'll see the topic. Oh, excuse me, it's tomorrow. It's the merciful pastimes. That's number 3, not tomorrow morning. So this evening for Radhastami, Radharani's appearance, and a little bit about Radha Tattva. So we know when we're praying to Radharani for entrance into Vrndavan, who is she that we're praying to? So a celebrated verse, those of you that know the celebrated verse can say it with me. I'll say it slowly. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shaktirasmat Ekatmanab Apipuvi Purabeda Deha Tau Tau Shaityatam Aptam Prakatam Aduna Tadvayam Chakyam Aptam Radha Bhava Dyuti Savalitam Naomi Krishna Sarupam. This comes at the very beginning of Adi Lila, chapter 1. And in these first 14 verses of Adi Lila, chapter 1, there are summary texts that lay out the whole of Caitanya Mahaprabhu's, you know, the initial 8 chapters of Caitanya Mahaprabhu before the Lila begins. This particular verse was written by Swarup Damodar. And Swarup Damodar was one of 2 intimate associates of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The other was Ramananda Roy, otherwise known in Krishna Lila as Lalita and Vishaka, who were intimate associates of Srimati Radharani. And he understood the heart and the mind of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, in the mood and the luster of Radha. That's right in this verse. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shakti Asmat. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Pranaya. Ekat Manav Api Bhuvi. There's one form, Eka, Atma, not just one form, one Atma, Api Bhuvi, Pura Deha Beda, eternally manifest in 2 Dehas, 2 forms, but one Eka Atma. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladi Shakti Asmat. The loving affairs of Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency, that's Radharani. Their manifestation, their pastimes are manifestations of the pleasure-giving potency of Radha, of the pleasure-giving potency of Krishna. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, previously, not like like an event in time, but ontologically, they separated themselves. So eternally manifested, two forms, but one entity. And their loving exchange is a manifestation of Radharani, the pleasure-giving potency of Krishna. Through Radha, Krishna enjoys pleasure pastimes with her, but she's his own energy, and they're one entity. The second half is describing those two have now become one, as Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Radha, Krishna, two forms, eternally manifest as two forms, and manifest as one form. That's Caitanya Mahaprabhu in the Radha Bhava, the mood, the ecstatic mood of Radha, and the luster, duty of Radha. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu was also golden in his luster or complexion and was in the mood of Radha, but Krishna himself. Krishna Naumi Swarupam. So that's Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And to explain this verse, Adi Lila, chapter 1, verse 5, we're going to now spend a little bit of time in Adi Lila, chapter 4, that just expands on this verse. It's just, some of you do some deity worship at home, I bet. How many do some deity worship at home? And those of you that don't, someday, likely you'll do some deity worship. And one of the things that you'll learn in deity worship is how to make gay wicks. Of course, you could just buy them ready-made, but you learn how to make them, most likely. And here's how you make them. You take some cotton, a little bit, and you start turning it and turning it and turning it. Dip it in a little bit of ghee, not too much, and turn it, and you get a gay wick. So let's do it in reverse. Let's take a little lump of cotton, and you take that lump of cotton and start pulling it apart and pulling it apart and pulling it apart. And what do you get? Little strands of cotton fiber. So Adi Lila chapter 4 is that procedure, not making ghee wick, but taking this verse and showing here's this strand and this strand and this strand, they all fit together, and you can make a nice ghee wick and offer to your deity. So here's the same verse explained in Adi Lila chapter 4. Radha Krishna Eka Atma, same, Eka Atma, Dvi Deha Dhari, Anyonye Vilasa Rasa Asvadhana Kori. Translation. Radha and Krishna are one and the same, Eka Atma, but they have assumed two bodies, Dvi Deha Dhari. Thus they enjoy each other, tasting the mellows of love. Same. Adi Lila 1:5. Here's Srila Prabhupada's a part of his purport to this verse. The two transcendentalists, Radha and Krishna, are a puzzle to materialists. The description of Radha and Krishna from the diary of Srila Sarup Damodar Goswami is a condensed explanation, but one needs great spiritual insight to understand the mystery of these two personalities. So he goes on unpacking. Notice this is verse 56. We're going to carry on from verse 56 from chapter 4. But where does this science or the ontology of the potencies of Krishna, what does it look like? Here's what it looks like. Krishna has unlimited potencies, but for purposes of considering them, they're in three categories or divisions. One of those categories is his internal potency. And those of you that aren't so familiar with Prabhupada's writings, please know that there are terms that are almost interchangeable, practically interchangeable. So internal potency, Swarup Shakti, Chit Shakti, Antaranga Shakti. There's 4 different terms. They all mean the same thing. His spiritual potency. That's a 5th one. Krishna's spiritual potency. Or Antaranga Shakti, internal Swarup Shakti, Chit Shakti. So when you read Prabhupada's writings and become a little familiar, just remember this box, because they mean the same thing. There's slight emphasis difference. That's okay. So that's the spiritual potency. Now there's the external potency or material potency or Bahir Anga Shakti. Material creation and all the elements of material creation. So that's 2, and there's 1 more. And that's us. The jivas, Jiva Shakti, or marginal potency, or tatastha. It's a really nice example to understand what's tatastha. The classic example is, there's river and there's river bank and there's the line where the river meets the river bank. So when you look at the line where the river meets the river bank, what is it? Is it river or is it river bank? It's tatastha. It's just a line. And it's not exactly river, it's not exactly not river, it's not exactly bank, it's not exactly not bank, it's exactly marginal. So that's us, we're marginal. Depending upon the direction which our attention goes, it goes towards the external or material, or goes toward the internal or spiritual. And that's the marginal choice, free will choice that we make. So there's 3 categories. We're in the jiva category, marginal category. And the spiritual practice means to gradually move away from the external and gradually move towards the spiritual or internal potency that takes us directly to Krishna. Radharani takes you to Krishna. Radharani takes you to Vrndavan. She's a very important person for us. Now, let's take a look at, on that left box, we've already had 5 different terms. There's subdivisions of those 5. So that's, for simple purposes, we'll call it Chit Shakti. Chit Shakti. Within Chit Shakti, there's 3 parts. 1, Sandhini. Sandhini potency, Sandhini Shakti. What's Sandhini Shakti? It's the Sat feature, Satchitananda Vigraha. You familiar with that one? Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. You know the verse? Good. Can you say it?
Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadhirade Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam.
Very good. So the Sat portion of Satchitananda is this box here. Sandhini, the existential potency. So who's in charge? There's a person in charge, a presiding deity over Sandhini. We observed his appearance day not so long ago. Lord Balaram. Through the Sandhini potency, Balaram manifests everything in the spiritual world. He manifests the spiritual world. He manifests the shoes of Krishna. He manifests the garments of Krishna. He manifests the seat of Krishna, the bed of Krishna. He manifests Krishna's form, not like once upon a time there wasn't Krishna's form and he said, hey, time for Krishna's form. It's not it's not a chronological function. It's an ontological function. It's the Sandini potency is under his supervision, and he manifests things for Krishna's service and for the pleasure of Krishna. And he loves serving. So there's lots and lots of service he does through the agency of the Sandini potency. Okay? Sandini. What's the next one? Who knows? It also starts with an S. Samvit. Samvit. You've heard that one before? It's the same as Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. So that's being really clear. Up in that upper box, it says Antaranga, internal, Srup Shakti, Chit Shakti. Now down this lower box, where it says Samvit, it's also known as Chit Shakti. So get unconfused real quick. It means the Chit Shakti can mean two different things. And one of the main things it means is the spiritual potency, but it also can mean the cognizant potency, Chit, or Vit, to know, Samvit, the potency of knowledge. And who is the presiding deity of Samvit? Vasudev? Krishna. So what does this Samvit potency, or Samvit Shakti? Krishna's aspect of cognizance, the knowledge potency by which the Lord knows himself and causes others to know him. Pretty simple. Samvit. So Sat Chit or Sandini, Samvit, and then comes Radharani. She's the Hladini Shakti. Krishna's aspect of transcendental bliss. Krishna's aspect of transcendental bliss. Through Krishna's Hladini potency, he enjoys bliss. Now he doesn't need anything. He's Atmaram. He's not lacking in anything. He's full in everything. And part of his fullness is Hladini Shakti. Can we separate the sun and the sunshine? No. Can you separate the shine from the sun? No. Can you separate Radha from Krishna? No. They can manifest in two forms, but they're one entity. So when we hear, because coming up, we'll be hearing pastimes of Radharani. Please understand, it's just the movements of Krishna's pleasure potency, and she's nourishing Krishna's enjoyment. She is Krishna's enjoyment. She enjoys Krishna's enjoyment, and Krishna enjoys her enjoyment, although they're one entity. It's a wonderful mystery, very wonderful mystery. So now let's go on with Adi Leela, chapter 4, which is Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami's taking the cotton ball and pulling the cotton ball into strands of cotton. So we get the picture of who is Radha Krishna. Ladini Sara Prema. Ladini Sara Prema, Prema Sara Bhava. Bhavera Parama Kashta Nam Mahabhava. Sounds nice. The essence of the Ladini potency, as Radharani personified, is love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion, or bhava, and the ultimate development of emotion is Radharani, the bearer of Mahabhava, exclusively within Radharani. Not jivas don't have access to that. We can get close, but that's her, not us. We can come to the Bhava stage. Mahabhava Sarup Shri Radha Takarani Sarvaguna Kani Krishna Kanta Shiromani. Shri Radha Takarani is the embodiment of Mahabhava. She is the repository of all good qualities and the crest jewel among all the lovely consorts of Lord Krishna. Here's another strand from the cotton ball. Let's go forward. Krishna Prema Bhavita Yanra Chitendriya Kai Krishna Nija Shakti Radha Kridara Sahai. Her mind, her senses, her body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy, and she helps him in his pastimes. This is Krishna Tattva. Who is Radha? Radha Tattva, excuse me. Radhika Hayena Krishnera Pranaya Vikar Sarup Shakti. There's that Sarup Shakti word. Haladini Nama Yanhar. Shrimati Radhika is the transformation of Krishna's love. She is his internal energy called Ladini. Well, she's more specific. She's a portion, an aspect of that Sarup Shakti, the pleasure potency aspect of that Sarup Shakti. So it's also correct to say she is his internal energy called Ladini. There's some very beautiful paintings of Radharani. I came across some more today. Very beautiful. Ladini Kayara Krishne Ananda Svadana Ladinira Dwarakari Bhaktera Poshana. That Ladini energy gives Krishna pleasure and nourishes his devotees. Have you seen that photograph on the left before Prabhupada at San Francisco Rath Yatra? Prabhupada was not well. It was not clear if he was to be able to attend, but he attended, and he was so enlivened. He got off the cart, and he danced, and he danced, and he danced, and he danced. And when he was dancing, the crowd went wild, because he wasn't just dancing, he was displaying ecstasy that just knocked people over. They got swept away in that mood of ecstasy. Although he wasn't well, it was doubtful whether he would be able to go. Anyway, Laladini energy gives Krishna pleasure and nourishes his devotees. Poshana. Poshana. Poshana means maintains. Poshana. Krishna Kanta Gana Deki Trividha Prakar. Eka Lakshmi Gana Pore Mahishi Gana Ar. Rajana Gana Rupa Ar. Kanta Gana Sar. Shri Radhika Haite Kanta Ganera Vistar. Is there anybody here that's Bengali? No. When we were in Dallas, there was a lady that she chanted these so beautifully with a nice melody. You Bengali? You're just practicing. Okay. Okay. Translation. The beloved consorts of Lord Krishna, the beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are of three kinds. The goddesses of fortune, plural, the queens, and the milkmaids of Vraja, who are the foremost of all. These consorts are all proceed from Sri Radhika. And what does that mean? Vaikuntha, Lakshmi, goddess of fortune. And how many Vaikuntha planets are there? Too many. Numerous. Innumerable. And each Lakshmi, expansion of Radha. The queens, expansions of Radha. The gopis, expansions of Radha. With these expansions, Krishna enjoys, and she's the fountainhead. Just like, have you ever heard Prabhupada's explanation of why he used the phrase Supreme Personality of Godhead? You ever wondered about that? You've wondered about that. He explains, he chose that term because it's not just an indication of God, but that which is the source or fountainhead of all the expansions or incarnations, Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom all other expansions, so many different categories of expansions, come from him. He is that source. And Radha is same for the consorts. She's the fountainhead. She's a Supreme Personality of the fountainhead of all expansions of the pleasure potencies of the Supreme Lord. She's it. She's the source. They're all resting on her, as all the expansions of Krishna are resting on Krishna. In one sense, the expansions of Krishna are not different. One can say that. And one can also say that one of them is the source of all of them. Same for Radharani. This is Radha Tattva, to understand Radha's position. Avatarai Krishna Yaiche Kare Avatar Angsini Radha Haite Tina Ganera Vistar. There it is. Just as the fountainhead, Lord Krishna, is the cause of all incarnations, Sri Radha is the cause of all these consorts. Radha Tattva. And we're observing her appearance date today. Govinda Nandini Radha, Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva Sarva Kanta Shiromani. Nice verse. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda. Govinda Nandini Radha. She is also the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be-all and end-all of Govinda and the crest jewel of all his consorts. So there's many more verses, but that's it for this evening, Radha Tattva. We have a nice picture of where she fits in the picture of the spiritual world. She belongs to the spiritual world. And we'd like to get closer to the spiritual world by her mercy. So here's a very nice little section, Radharani's appearance past time. Now, Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma, correct? Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma. A day of Brahma is a long time. You know how long is a day of Brahma? 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas. How long is one of the 1,000 cycle of the 4 yugas? It's easy math. You like math? 10 times the duration of Kali Yuga. What's the duration of Kali Yuga? 432,000, right? You never heard that one before? 432, that's a big number. But you multiply 10 times 432,000, that's 10, you just add a 0 at the end. It's pretty simple. 4,320,000. Good going. That's the duration of one yuga cycle. 4,320,000. You like math? Here's how it works. Kali Yuga and 2 Kali Yugas together makes 1 Dwapara Yuga. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. So 10 times 1 Kali Yuga is the duration of 1 Yuga cycle. 1,000 of those, now you add 3 more zeros. Right? 1,000 times, you add 3 zeros. Before it was 4 million, so now it's 4,320,000,000 solar years of earthly calculation. That's the duration of 1 day of Brahma, and then his night is of equal duration times 2. So during that span of time, Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma. Once in a day of Brahma. And each time Krishna appears, there's a general pattern to his lila, but there's some variations in his lila. Because, Prabhupada explains, variety is the mother of enjoyment. Supposing you like something, maybe you like, on the way over here, we saw 10 miles worth of advertising for peach ice cream. Supposing you like peach ice cream. How many times can you eat peach ice cream? You got to eat something else besides peach ice cream, even if you like peach ice cream. Variety is the mother of enjoyment. Supposing you like sabji. When people ask me, what's your favorite dish? What's your favorite food? I said, variety. Because if I say something, then that's all I'm going to get. It's variety. Variety. Become a sannyasi, you'll experience variety. Different people cook in different ways, and it's nice, because it's variety. So, each day of Brahma, 4,320,000,000 years, times 2, Krishna appears and Radha appears. And her appearances are somewhat different, depending upon the day of Brahma. Okay? Now we're going to hear 4 different descriptions of Radharani's appearance. And there's one very common one, which you probably have heard before. And this is, we mentioned Swarup Damodar, now I'm mentioning Ramananda Roy. Remember from the beginning? 2 intimate associates of Lord Caitanya in Puri were Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy. Right? And Ramananda Roy wrote something. He wrote this Padyavali. Padyavali just means a collection of prayers or nice statements. And in this Radha Padyavali, Rai Ramananda Padyavali, he describes Radharani's appearance. I'm not going to go through the verse. Here you see Radha is on a lotus flower, and her father Vrishabhanu finds her. Here's his verse. Now, where is this found? Some of you, there's a very nice devotee named Madhvananda. And Madhvananda produces a magazine called Bindu Magazine. He lives in Bhubaneswar, a disciple of Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And he finds all these really esoteric things and makes a magazine out of it. So Balaram's appearance day, Krishna's appearance day, Radharani's appearance day. This came from him on Radharani's appearance day, from Rai Ramananda Padyavali. So the painting isn't his, But here's what Rai Ramananda writes. One day, as Maharaj Vrishabhanu, in the local language it's Vikabhanu, but Vrishabhanu, arrived at the Jamuna's banks after having been moving around here and there during a royal expedition, he saw a lotus flower resplendent like rays of the sun floating down the stream. Now here's a different version, which I like because I'm used to it. Let's go back in time, and before Vrishabhanu and Nanda Maharaj moved to Gokul, because Krishna appeared in Gokul, right? Krishna appeared. Gokul is on the eastern bank of the river Jamuna. But Nanda Maharaj's palace is on the western side of the river Jamuna, some distance from the river Jamuna, up on a nice Nandagram, up on a hill. So Nanda and Vrishabhanu, they're very dear friends. Vrishabhanu is his occupation. He's a king, sub-king, and the main king is Nanda Maharaj. There's some details about family tree and all that, but they're kings, they have opulence, and they have many, many cows, and they're cowherds. Now, Vrishabhanu had a son, but not a daughter, and he and his wife, Kirtida, were very desirous of a daughter. No daughter. Nanda Maharaj wants a son, and Mother Yasoda wants a son, but no son. They did yagyas and thises and thats, and observed these austerities and these things, and not, no children. No. So they agreed. Let us go to the eastern side of the river Jamuna. Perhaps there'll be some good fortune that will come our way. And I will have a son, you'll have a daughter. So they shifted. One day you'll go to Vrndavan with Radharani's mercy. And where Radharani lived, Barsana is not so far from where Krishna lived, in Nandagram. And they're both up on this hill, 2 different hills. So they shifted from their ancestral home to the eastern side in Gokul. And that's where Krishna was born, and Radharani was born shortly thereafter. The way that the narration I'm accustomed to hearing is Vrishabhanu and his good wife Kirtida lived in Raval, R-A-V-A-L, which is some distance, not around the corner, from where Nanda Maharaj is. Where Nanda Maharaj lived, it's by taxi, it's like 10 minutes or so. So but they were very close, affectionate friends, kings. So one morning, when Vrishabhanu was going to take his morning bath in the river Jamuna, because at that time, the river Jamuna flowed right next to his palace or his home. And when you go to Raval, you'll see the riverbed where the river Jamuna used to flow. It's no longer flowing there, but there's the wooden, the stone structures that stick out into a body of water that are still there. So he was going to take his morning bath in the river Jamuna before the sun came up. And he saw something he never saw before. There's a light, a bright light coming from somewhere out there in the river Jamuna. So he was attracted, started walking, wading towards that light. As he got closer, it wasn't just a light, it was a lotus flower, large lotus flower. As he got closer to the lotus flower, there was a young baby girl floating on that lotus flower, floating in the river Jamuna. And he heard a voice from the sky saying, "This is the daughter that you have desired. Please accept her and care for her as your own." So as he got close, he lifted Srimati Radharani, and he felt ecstatic joy just touching the body of this little infant girl. And he brought the little girl home and explained everything to his wife. By now the sun is starting to come up. And he said, let us accept this as the Lord's arrangement for us. We wanted a daughter, and here we are. So that's how she made her appearance. Now in the next class, we're going to hear something further, but we'll go back to what Rai Ramananda Padyavali says. His explanation is slightly different. He was riding on horseback one day, and as he was traveling on an expedition, a royal expedition, he saw a lotus flower floating in the river Jamuna, floating down the stream. And so he went over and look what he saw. Seeing the lotus, his mind became full of bliss, and yet he simultaneously fell into deep despair. He thought and spoke aloud, how can this divine lotus be brought to the shore? Well, the divine lotus was a divine arrangement. Bringing her to the shore was also divine. So here's the translation of the next verse. Although his servants heard what the king had uttered, no one could speak. Rai Ramananda aspires to serve his feet. His is Vrishabhanu. In his internal vision, Rai Ramananda asks the king, shall I fetch this lotus? And there it is, Bhikabhanu, or Vrishabhanu. In great bliss, Maharaj Vrishabhanu swiftly dismounted from his steed and jumped into the Jamuna, swimming amidst waves that seemed to touch the sky. He caught hold of the lotus and brought it to the shore. Rai Ramananda Bolo, Radha Janamite. Rai Ramananda speaks of Radha's appearance and how the world is now crowned with success by beholding the vision of Radhika. What can possibly compare to the beauty of celebration of the appearance of Srimati Radharani, Vrishabhanu's abode? I think it should be in Vrishabhanu's abode. So there, this painting is demigoddesses offering flowers, Kirtida holding little Radharani. They're having a big festival. We're going to hear some more about the big festival. This is a synopsis. More details will come tomorrow. Narada Muni, his uncanny ability to know when to show up and say the right thing at the right time. And he knew that Krishna had appeared. So he came to offer his respects and see the little baby form of Krishna. And he was very happy. But he was good at math. Probably better than this young boy. He put 2 and 2 together and he came up with 4. Krishna's appeared. Radharani must have appeared. So how to find Radharani? So he decided to do what sannyasis don't really like to do so much, but sometimes they do it anyways. He went into the homes of different families that had newborn children and offer blessings to the newborn children. And he was especially looking for Radharani. So home after home after home. Do you have a newborn child? I'd like to give my blessings to the newborn child. They were very happy. Narada Muni come to our home to offer blessings to our newborn child. Haribol. So he eventually made his way to Vrishabhanu's home. And there's details which we'll hear more tomorrow. But Vrishabhanu didn't disclose that Radharani was a newborn child. He disclosed he had a son. Radharani has an older brother. You know Radharani's older brother's name? Starts with an S. Sridham, that's it. Very good. Very good. Sridham. So they brought Sridham to Narada Muni. He gave his blessings. And then he was going to leave. And they said, wait a minute. We have a daughter. She came to us in an unusual way, but we take her as our daughter. But there's a problem. What's that? She appears to be blind, deaf, and dumb. But you're a sadhu, maybe you can give some blessings and make her well again. Take me to your daughter. As soon as he entered the room where Radharani was, he felt her divine presence. We'll hear some more tomorrow. So her wellness wasn't restored, but he made the recommendation to have a nice festival in honor of her appearance, and make sure to invite Nanda and Jasoda. Make sure they bring Krishna. Orchestrating the pastime. And the pastime is in this picture. When everyone was busy doing what adults do when they're having a gathering, little Krishna toddled over to Radharani's crib, and as soon as he poked his head above Radharani's crib, she opened her eyes. She cried very loudly and happily, and she began making sounds. Because she didn't want to see anything, didn't want to speak anything, didn't want to have any contact with anything other than Krishna. As soon as Krishna was there, that was it. Everything was nice. We'll hear some more tomorrow. This is the childhood pastimes of Radharani. So now there's 3 more appearance pastimes. One more appearance pastime is very similar to the river Jamuna pastime, took place at Vrishabhanu Kund at Varsana. Vrishabhanu Kund at Varsana. Very similar pastime. And then here's a third one. And a little history. Prabhupada told this appearance of Radharani once on Radhastami in Montreal, way back in, the 60s. And when the devotees heard that, they didn't know the Ramayana story, but when they came to know about the Ramayana story, they thought maybe Prabhupada got mixed up. Prabhupada didn't get mixed up. He described that Vrishabhanu was plowing the field, and as he was plowing the field, from the field that he was plowing came the little golden child, which he named Radharani. And it's found in the Matsya Purana. So that's the third Radharani appearance description. And here's number 4. Now, number 4, you have to have your seatbelt fastened, because it's a very, very elevated pastime, and you have to listen very carefully. I know that you'll listen very carefully. You're a good listener. You're pretty good. You may be better at listening than you are at math. But let's see how well you can remember. So this is from Rupa Goswami. Anybody here that's really new and doesn't know who is Rupa Goswami would need an introduction to Rupa Goswami, so you know who is Rupa Goswami. You don't know? Okay. You know who is Lord Caitanya. You doing okay so far with this description? Okay. There's some names. Vrishabhanu, the father of Radharani, just like Nanda. Okay. Okay, so Lord Caitanya, you know who is Lord Caitanya? You think so? Okay, you know who is Krishna? Okay. When did Krishna appear? He appeared at the end of the third third of the 4 yuga cycles, Dwapara Yuga. And then he spoke Bhagavad Gita and he left. After Krishna left, he began to consider, my main teaching in Bhagavad Gita is to surrender to me. The verse, Sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yashami masuchi. See, it's a well-known verse. 1866, you can look in your Bhagavad Gita when you get home. So Krishna considered, how are people, this Kali Yuga is coming up. After I leave, Kali Yuga is coming up. And people aren't going to know how to do it, how to surrender to me. So how to help them understand how to. I'll appear as my own devotee. I will appear as a devotee. That's Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna himself as a devotee of Krishna, from the very first verse that we looked at, in the luster, the duty of Radha, and the bhava of Radha. But Krishna himself, showing how to. And in his course of his showing how to, he had a number of persons who were very attracted to him and his teaching. And amongst them, there were 6 most celebrated personalities we know as the 6 Goswamis of Vrndavan. And the chief number 1 of those 6 Goswamis was Rupa. Rupa, R-U-P-A. Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami. One of the 6 Goswamis who are taking this teaching of Lord Chaitanya, how to give one's life fully dedicated to Krishna, in the mood of Radharani, in the mood of love that Radharani has for Krishna. And so Rupa Goswami received it, and he was next in line in disciplic succession from Lord Chaitanya. Very important person. And he was personally instructed by Lord Chaitanya for some period of time, and then later for almost a whole year in Puri. So he received Lord Chaitanya's mercy, and Lord Chaitanya instructed him 2 things. I will give you realization of everything that I've taught. You'll understand everything that I've taught. Wow. And I empower you to write. Elaborate further on the teachings I've given you. So he's got Shakti. So very early in his career as a mendicant sannyasi, sadhu, he began writing a drama about Krishna. It's really nice. I'll elaborate. As he was just doing it in his mind. He had a very, he didn't have a computer. He was doing it in his mind. He has like wonderful memory. And he wrote, eventually, he wrote it down. But he was composing this in his mind. And when he was traveling by foot to go all the way from Vrindavan, up here, all the way down to visit Lord Chaitanya in Puri, that's a long journey. I mean, getting in a car and driving across Texas, Texas is big. But going from Vrindavan to Puri by foot took a long time. And in the course of his travel, he passed through a village in Orissa, then known and still today known as Satyabhamapur. And in the evening when he was resting in Satyabhamapur, Satyabhama appeared in his dream and said, make it 2 dramas. Krishna in Vrindavan and Krishna out of Vrindavan, after he leaves Vrindavan. Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and out of Vrindavan. He didn't say anything to anybody, he was in a dream. When he finally got to Puri, some days later, Lord Chaitanya said, make it 2 dramas. I heard you're composing a drama about Krishna, make it 2. Then he could understand. Lord Chaitanya was omniscient. So what you're going to hear is from the first Act 1, Scene 1 of Krishna in Vrindavan, describing Radharani's appearance. Act 1, Scene 1, Rupa Goswami describing Radharani's appearance. There can be lots of different names that you've never heard before, but that's okay. You'll get the flow. And people that have been around for a while, keep your seatbelt fastened and listen very carefully. So it's Rupa Goswami's Lalita Madhava. And in the description of Lalita Madhava, there's 2 persons speaking. One of those persons is Purnamasi, and the other is Gargi. Purnamasi, when Krishna went to school, right? His teacher was Sandipani Muni. You've heard his name before? No. Sandipani Muni was Krishna's teacher. When he was in Vrindavan, he didn't go to school. He was taking care of cows. When he went to Mathura and killed Kamsa, right? His mother and father said, you got to go to school. So he decided which school he wanted to go to, because he was Krishna. And he went to the school of Sandipani Muni. Intimate, transcendental relationship. He learned everything in 2 months and went back to Mathura. He was really a good student. 2 months. And Sandipani Muni had a mother. And her name, Sandipani Muni's mother's name is Purnamasi. Purnamasi. Purnamasi in Krishna's Leela is understood to be Yogamaya. What's Yogamaya? Yogamaya is Krishna's potency of pastimes. So Purnamasi orchestrates Krishna's pastimes. She has a team that she works with, but she's the lady. She's the potency of Krishna's pastimes. So Purnamasi is having a discussion with Gargi, and Gargi is one of Sandipani Muni's daughters, so that means it's her granddaughter. Gargi is asking Purnamasi about Radharani's appearance. So here we go. Seatbelt fastened. Purnamasi says that long, long ago, the Vindhya hills were in competition with the Himalayas, because the Himalayas are the tallest mountains. So Vindhya wanted to become taller and taller and taller, and with pride. So Agastya, that's who is pictured here, Agastya Muni, detecting the pride in Vindhya, requested Vindhya bow down and stay like that until I return. And he didn't return. But Vindhya is proud. And so Vindhya decided he would do long, 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 long austerities so that he could have, listen, a son-in-law that would be able to defeat the son-in-law of the Himalayas. So who's the daughter of the Himalayas? Parvati, right? Parvati, the daughter of Himalayas. And this son-in-law of the Himalayas is Lord Shiva. So Vindhya, long, 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 long austerities, so he could have a son-in-law that would defeat the son-in-law of the Himalayas. Brahma came before him. He made this request of Brahma, please give me this benediction. Now I'm going to start reading because it's very sweet, and it's very intricate. Brahma said, "Oh, Mount Vindhya, to fulfill your desire, you will have 2 daughters. One of them is Radharani. You'll have 2 daughters that will give you a son-in-law who will defeat Lord Shiva and whose virtues will fill the world with wonder." Yay, Vindhya got his benediction. Now, Radharani is the daughter of the Vindhya hills. So Gargi wants to know, how did Radharani get from Vindhya, Mount Vindhya, all the way to Gokul? Because she grew up in Gokula with the daughter of Vindhya hills. It's quite a distance. Purnamasi. She was taken by Putana. Now, we've not heard this before, but it's in Rupa Goswami's writings. Really? Purnamasi is saying that Putana kidnapped Radharani, the daughter of the Vindhya hills, and the other girl too, Gargi. Witches that steal children generally eat their victims. This girl is very fortunate to be saved. Purnamasi. Kamsa had ordered Putana to kill extraordinary small boys and kidnap any small girls. Gargi. Why did the king ask her to do these 2 things? Purnamasi. He was pushed by the words of Devaki's demigoddess daughter. Devaki's demigoddess daughter. Devaki's demigoddess daughter. Those of you who've been around for a while, you're going to get lost with names and stuff. But when Krishna's appearance, it's right in the Bhagavatam, Krishna was the 8th child of Devaki. He requested Yogamaya transfer the 7th child of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, number 1. Number 2, appear in the womb of Yashoda, number 2. Number 3, I'll take birth as the 8th child of Devaki. When I take my birth, I'm going to do a switcheroo. I'm going to ask my father, Vasudeva, to carry me by the side of Mother Jasoda, leave me with Mother Jasoda. You can come over here to be Kamsa's going to think you're the 8th child of Devaki. He won't be able to kill you because you're my Yogamaya potency. And then the 4th service is, after that, you'll be known here and there. It's right in the Bhagavatam, by Durga and various forms of Durga, right in the Bhagavatam. So Yogamaya became Durga, the demigoddess, daughter of Devaki. And what did the demigoddess Durga say to Kamsa when Kamsa was unable to kill her? Well, what Rupa Goswami says is slightly different, but it's just okay. She said to Kamsa, the same person who in your previous birth severed your head with a chakra in battle, Kalanemi. Names. The same person who the sages know as he whose 2 lotus feet are worshipped by the demigods. The same person who pleases his loving devotees by showering them with oceans of the nectar bliss. The same person who is the root from which the universe has sprouted and has now appeared in this world at the time of the moon's rising, well, at midnight. Today, or the day after, 8 sublimely sweet Shaktis will appear on earth. 2 sisters who are like great palaces of beautiful transcendental qualities will also appear. That's 2 plus 8. How many is 2 plus 8? 10. Very good. So 10 female children will appear. The 2 are the daughters of Vindhya Hills. And then there's 8 more. When the 2 sisters who are like great palaces of beautiful transcendental qualities will also appear. When he defeats Shiva, Lord Krishna, the King of Kings, will accept the hand of both the girls in marriage. Krishna is going to marry Radha. It happens in Gopal Champu, but it's being spoken of here in Lalita Madhava. So Gargi asks, the first question was, how did Radha get from Vindhya all the way to Gokul? The next question is, what happened to the second sister? Listen to this. Intrigue. When Vindhya's chief priest, so Putana kidnapped the 2 girls. And Vindhya was having a priest conduct a yagya. When the girls were kidnapped, he had the priest conduct a yagya that would harm Putana, so he'd get his 2 daughters back. When Vindhya's chief priest chanted a demon-killing mantra, Putana's heart became struck with fear as she was hastily flying over Vidarbha province. Vidarbha province. Who is the king of the Vidarbha province? Vidarbha Sutta. Who is Vidarbha Sutta? Rukmini, right? Bhishmaka. So as she was, Putana, hastily flying over Vidarbha province, the first of her victims dropped from her and fell into a river's current. Gargi. Her father is Sandipani Muni. My father, Sandipani Muni, is omniscient. Why then has he said that as a result of a benediction granted by Durvasa Muni, Srimati Radharani appeared from King Vrishabhanu's chest? Now we know that Durvasa Muni gave Radharani a benediction of being a good cook. But here he gave a benediction that Radharani would appear from Vrishabhanu's chest. I told you you'd have to listen carefully. Purnamasi says, requested by Brahma, Lord Hari's Yogamaya potency removed these 2 infants from the wombs of the wives of Chandrabhanu and Vrishabhanu and placed them in the womb of Vindhya's wife. So before they were born as daughters of Vindhya, they were in the wombs of Nanda and Vrishabhanu's wives, Radharani. And Chandrabhanu was Chandravali. Chandrabhanu, the father of Chandravali, later became Rukmini. Yes. Gargi. Did the 2 fathers know what happened? Purnamasi, certainly they understood. Why would Durvasa Muni not help them? Gargi, how do you know all this? Purnamasi, I learned this by the mercy of my spiritual master Narada's instructions, which have also made me attached to Radha. Should I keep going? It's late. I'll keep going. Is it true that when the witch was killed, that's Putana, was killed, Putana was killed, you took Radha from her lap? Purnamasi. I took not only Radha, but 5 other girls also. Now, when Krishna killed Putana, Krishna was on the chest of Putana. In this description, it's Radha. Not only Radha, but 5 other girls. Because remember, there was the 2 plus the 8, now here's 5. So it's like the numbers are, you got to be good at math to keep up with this. Who were they? Who were those 5? Lalita, Chandravali's friend Padma, that's 2. Bhadra, Shaibya, and Shama, that's 5. Were taken from the witch Putana. How were these girls placed among the gopis? Purnamasi. Swiftly and secretly, I gave these 5 infant girls to 5 gopis in different parts of Vrindavan. In a secret place, I happily gave Radha to Yasoda's nurse Mukhara and said, elderly one, here is your son-in-law Vrishabhanu's daughter. So Mukhara, who was the nurse of Yasoda, served Radha. This girl is your son-in-law Vrishabhanu's daughter. That's how he got to Vrishabhanu. And this is Act 1, Scene 1. Keep going. Gargi. This must be the way Radha's second close friend, Vishakha, appeared in Vrindavan. Purnamasi. No. Jatila found her floating in the Jamuna. I did not know that. Who found the Vindhya's first daughter as she was floating in the river's current? Bhishmaka. Who is Bhishmaka? He's the king of that province where she was dropped. Vidarbha province. Bhishmaka was the king. Bhishmaka found the girl, became his daughter, Rukmini, or Vidarbha Sutta. Gargi. Alas, the cruelty of fate, who has separated these 2 sisters. Purnamasi, my daughter, so it's like her granddaughter, my daughter, fate then reunited them. In this way, fate's mercy may be seen. Gargi, how did that happen? Chandravali was the granddaughter of Karala, Jambavan, who lived in the caves of Govardhan Hill and the Vindhya Hills, kidnapped the 5-year-old Chandravali and forcibly took her from Kundina city. He did this on the orders of the goddess Durga, who was staying then in the Vindhya Hills. Now, it's complicated. So there's a little footnote. The goddess Durga is Yasoda's daughter. Yogamaya, brought to the prison house of Kamsa, became Durga. After Maharaj Vasudeva brought her back to Mathura, and after King Kamsa unsuccessfully tried to kill her, she escaped to the Vindhya Hills, one of the places. This is the last concluding part. Gargi talking to herself. I've heard from my father's mouth, her father Sandipani Muni, that although the gopis, headed by Chandrabanu's daughter Chandravali, so Chandravali, those of you that have been around for a while, Chandravali is the right-wing gopi, Radharani is the left-wing gopi. She's the head, and she has her group, and Radharani's the head, and she has her group and subgroups. So I heard from my father that Chandrabanu's daughter Chandravali and the Dwarka queens, headed by Bhishmaka's daughter Rukmini, are expansions of the same spiritual potency. Remember this discussion about Radharani as the fountainhead of the goddesses of fortune in Vaikuntha, the queens in Dwarka, and the gopis? So I heard from my father that Chandravali and Rukmini are actually the same. Chandravali is in Vrindavan, she's the gopi in Vrindavan, and Rukmini is the queen, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, who married Krishna as the first queen. They're from the same spiritual potency. They're expansions of the same spiritual potency. I heard that from my father. Nevertheless, their forms are separate and distinct. Now it is said that with the aid of the Yogamaya potency, each gopi is identical with a specific queen. How many queens? 16,108. How many gopis? 16,108. Each gopi has a corresponding became a corresponding queen from the same spiritual potency, but in different forms with different names, but same entity, same, you can say, personality, same tattva. But these are Krishna's Shaktis, they're not Jiva souls. Remember that chart? Internal potency, external potency, marginal potency, and then the internal potency has these different subdivisions. 3. And there, the Hladini Shakti was down on the right side, and Radharani expands into these different gopis, queens. So they're in two forms, but there's one spiritual entity, just expansions. This is high. So that's what she's going to say. Now it is said that with the aid of the Yogamaya potency, each gopi is identical with a specific queen, and each pair of gopi and queen is a single person. It must be so. Later, I shall perhaps understand it. What can I understand now of these confidential matters? Right. It is not that the Yogamaya, so now she's saying to Purnamasi, it is not that the Yogamaya potency, it is not that the Yogamaya potency forcibly prevented the marriage of Govardhan and the other, so Govardhan Malla is the husband of whom? Chandravali. Govardhan Malla was the husband of Chandravali, but it was a so-called marriage. It is said many times, the gopis and their so-called husbands, they never touched each other. Act 1, Scene 1, Lalita Madhava. But this is a different explanation. Explanation number 4 of Radharani's appearance. So now here's a nice photograph of Raval. Very simple, very, very simple. The entrance is over on the right side. There you see a bus from a tour group going to visit Raval. And near there's cows and calves. And inside, there's a deity of Krishna. No, that's not Krishna, that's Radharani. And we're going to see something more about Raval tomorrow in the visit of Narada Muni and the whole thing. Srimati Radharani ki jai. Now I went way over time. So we should end, right?
Yes, we can end.
Okay. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Any discussion? Besides, I'm bewildered. Can you do that again? Yes.
Chandravali is dropped in Vidarbha, and she became as Rukmini.
Chandravali was dropped.
Was dropped at
and
Vidarbha.
it was picked up by King Bhishmaka and became Rukmini, his daughter.
Right. So how again she appeared in Vrndavan as Chandravali?
By yoga, it doesn't give that detail, at least in the section that I read, and I'm not so clear. Yogamaya made some arrangement that she would appear again from, the son of, or excuse me, the daughter of
Chandrabali.
So that detail is not given from the section that I just read, and I'm not familiar with how that happened.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay. We're questioned out. You ready for your nice announcements? I won't interrupt you again.
Can you give us a short thank you?
Sure. Short.
Maharaj Shika Mataji will be giving you the thank you note. Please come.
Maharaj, our humble obeisances at your lotus feet on behalf of all the devotees here, and respectful obeisances to Sri Krishna and Radharani for arranging that. It seems it's a good fortune, that all of us are here in your company, Maharaj. So in one of the slides, you talked about one of the comments from Srila Prabhupada, that how we need to have very elevated spiritual mindset and vision to be able to understand the mysteries of Radharani's pastimes, and you actually described a lot of mysteries, and thanks to your causeless mercy, Maharaj, that we were able to understand some aspects of the tattva of some aspects of the Radharani tattva which you talked about. So just summarizing, Maharaj, for my own purification, some things which I learned from today's class, that Radharani is the pleasure potency, blissful pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. They both are one spiritual identity, two different forms. And also, Maharaj, understanding the Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Krishna himself, but in the mood and luster of Radharani. That is why he has golden complexion. And then also Radharani manifests the Mahabhava state, which is the highest stage. Anyone can experience all the pastimes which Lord Krishna goes through are arranged by Radharani. And then also she is the fountainhead of all the concerts of Radharani. So the goddess of fortune.
Consorts of Krishna.
Of Krishna, sorry. So the goddess of fortune in the Vaikuntha Lokas, and there are many, all the queens which we talked about, 16,108, and then also all the gopis in the Vrindavan. So these were some glimpses. And then for all of us devotees, she's also nourishing all of us as devotees. Then Maharaj, we also talked about the appearance of Radharani, and you beautifully walked us through the four aspects. One was in the Raval city, where Yamuna was there. She was actually discovered by her father Vishvanu on a lotus. That was one. Number 2 was also that she was on the Vrishbhanu Kund, on the lotus. I'm going by my memory here. The third one, Maharaj, was that when Vrishbhanu was plowing the field, he found her there. And then the fourth pastime was Rup Goswami's pastime in Lalita Mahatamya, where they talked about like a long story. But it was so beautiful, Maharaj, to be understanding some of those aspects. And my personal experience, Maharaj, having attended some of your retreats, and then also continuing some of the readings, I found it very hard, like you've been talking about going to Vraja, and that is the highest stage. And I kept feeling, I'm not able to comprehend Vraja. How do I experience it? Even though when I'm reading it, I'm hearing that that's the state we need to be in. But Maharaj, today when you walked in and you started doing the Kirtan and the prayers, at that moment when you were singing, Maharaj, there were tears flowing from the eyes, and little glimpse of what it is. It felt like we all are sitting with you on the banks of Yamuna in Vrndavan. So thank you so much, Maharaj. And thanks to Radharani, we were not supposed to be here. We had the desire, but somehow we were mercifully called here, and so glad, Maharaj, for your kind association here. So on behalf of everybody from the temple, thanking you, Maharaj, for your causeless mercy, and please forgive me for any mistakes.
Once again, thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class, and thank you, Shikamata ji, for the beautiful thank you note. With that, devotees, let us chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra loudly for Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.